إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفر ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. May I have that, please? Okay, today's lesson, today we're doing tafsir on Surat Al Zalzalah. Surat Al Zalzalah is the 99th surah, and we're going to just go over it. Basically, as we were going over before, we're saying Tafsir 101 is what we're going to do. Everybody knows what you're supposed to do. Recite with me. Tafsir 101 is what we're going to break each surah down for every one of you, from whence it came, its length, its name, its placement, and just what it claims, right? And what it claims. So there goes to what? For what reason? To learn Qur'an and pass it for Muslims learning. So here goes what we're checking here. We're checking for these 5 things right here. And we're still in the surahs of ikhtilaf, right? In 12 surah, there's ikhtilaf amongst the senior scholar staff. Falaq, Mutaffifin, Rahman Ra'dul, Az-Zalzala. Okay, here we go. Aqadru along with self, no one's word. So is deemed enough. So in these 12 surah, we're almost at the end. That's good. And then we're going to start just going through the whole Qur'an. But we're going through these 12 surah in Fatiha, Falaq and Nas, Mutaffifin, Ikhlas, Rahman Ra'dul, At-Taghabun. So we're in the 10th surah, right? Out of the 12 surahs of ikhtilaf. And what's the ikhtilaf about? What does ikhtilaf mean? What's the difference of opinion, Umar? She bailed you out. Where the surah was revealed, from whence it came, right? In the first chapter. Whence it came. Where are the 2 places it can come from? Mecca or Medina. What do we call a Meccan surah? Before migration. Meccan surahs came before migration. So it might not have been revealed inside of Mecca as long as it was revealed before migration, before Hijrah. That's the criteria of a Meccan surah, right? Or we wouldn't have Iqra, because where was it revealed? In the Mount Hira, right? Was that inside Mecca? No, but it was before. It's a Meccan surah. Why? Before migration, right? That was the first of the revelation. So before migration. And the reason why these chapters have the ikhtilaf, because you'll find usually these surah, well, maybe they were revealed around the time of what? Hijrah. So sometimes you'll find, if you do some greater research, that this was a late Meccan surah according to some historians, or an early Medinan surah according to others. Because it was the years of Hijrah began. Or there could be some other factors based on where it was and stuff like that. So, today we're on Az-Zalzala. Say, follow me. Az-Zalzala. Az-Zalzala. And hopefully everybody read this surah because they knew they were going to do it this week. And it says, the world convulses. You have the paper, right? The world convulses, cracks, and shakes. Az-Zalzala. The whole earth quakes, right? What's the rest?
With 8 ayah is 99.
With 8 ayah, it's 99. In Meccan or Medinan time. The day the earth throws out her weight. And what goes next? And man gets herded to his fate. Okay, let's go through this real quick so we can get to the tafsir part of it. This, remember, this is to help you remember this surah and to explain it to somebody who comes to you and says, hey, you're a Muslim, right? What is a zalzala? What is that? Isn't that a surah in the Qur'an? Don't you follow Qur'an and Sunnah? Don't you follow Qur'an? You say, yes, of course I follow Qur'an. Well, what is zalzala? What is that all about? What does that mean? You say the world convulses, cracks, and shakes. What does that describe? The Az-Zalzala, the whole earth quakes. So Az-Zalzala, linguistically, this tells us the name of it. We have the name in English and we have the name in Arabic, all right? As the Arabic word is Az-Zalzala. As a rule, whenever a word in Arabic repeats itself, like zalzala or qalqala or laqlaq, any of these sounds like that, that means it's a sound word. It's a movement. Some type of action is happening. Harika. Do you understand that? So, like for example, we have the word qalqala. Everybody say qalqala. An easy example because we use it in tajweed. It's when you sound off on that ba, you say ibba. Or that qaf, you say al-haqqa. Right? See that popping sound. Qul huwa Allahu ahad. That dal, that popping sound, that's qalqala. It's a strike on a letter that doesn't really have a sound on it, a consonant. So likewise, zalzala is that movement. And it's the movement that when the whole world convulses and cracks open and starts to shake. That's when the whole earth quakes. That's a zalzala. Severe, long earthquakes. So we have the name right there. Okay, with 8 ayah, it's 99. How many ayah is this? What's the length of this surah? 8 ayah. As a point to remember, this surah comes after Surat Al Bayyinah. It comes down, it was revealed around the same time as Surat Al Bayyinah. It has the same amount of ayah as Surat Al Bayyinah. Okay? So there's something just to remember, help you remember. The word ayah here is spelled like this is the plural of ayat. This, you can say ayah, you can say ayah, and you can say ayat. All of them mean the same thing, which is ayah. Instead of us saying ayats and stuff like that, let's learn what the proper terminology is. And it's ayah, if we're saying plural, and sometimes we say ayat. Okay? So with 8 ayah, it's 99. What does that mean? It's 99. It's placement. So it's the 99th chapter, right? These are simple things. 99th surah. What does the word surah mean? Since someone said, what does it mean? Walls around. For the ayah that they surround. So surah is a wall, right? And in the context of the Qur'an, it represents a wall around these certain ayat that represent and make this, like we have some ayat over here, right? And so we put a wall around them. This wall is called surah. And so you name that surah, right? And then you put a wall around these ayat over here, and you name that surah. And this would be Surah Al-Nas, and this would be Surah Al-Falaq. So it's like a citadel. Those surah, that wall protects those ayat from spilling into another surah, for someone getting confused and not understanding which surah is which surah. So the word surah literally means what? The word surah literally means? The word surah literally means rolls around something, a city. But what is it as a terminology? Wow. What is surah as a terminology? Subhanallah. It's a chapter in the Qur'an. Okay? Where did we distinguish? A chapter in the Qur'an. Very simple. You knew the answer. Everybody was afraid. No problem. Okay. It's 99. So Zalzala is the 99th surah. In Meccan or Medinan time, what does that represent? The ikhtilaf. So this surah, it came down. There's ikhtilaf. Whether it came down in Mecca or in Medinan time. And this is what this line points to. So if someone comes to you and say a non-Muslim or just another Muslim who doesn't know this, didn't take a class on tafsir, and he says to you, you know, Akhi, me and my brother over here arguing, I read in Ibn Kathir and it says this is a Meccan surah, but then he read in a Tabari and it said it was Medinan surah. What's the deal here? You know, what's going on here? You studied tafsir. Is it Meccan or Medinan? Can't be both. You say, well, actually, in 12 surah there's amongst who? The senior scholars. So what about us? Right? So it's the senior scholars, we're not getting involved in that. If it was the little too late, then we might be able to find an answer. Okay? So you explain it to them. It came down in Meccan or Medinan time. Okay? The day the earth throws out its weight, out her weight, this is ikhtilaf here. What does that mean? And man gets herded to his fate. This line right here, if we go, yes, that means ikhtilaf means difference of opinion. This last line in this poem here is something of a tafsir of the Qur'an as we're going to go through right now. So this, the day the earth throws out her weight, we'll have to explain that again as we go through the tafsir, and man gets herded to his fate. This is taken from 2 ayat in this surah. When it says, Yawma idhin, wa akhrajatil ardu athqalaha. And the day when the earth throws up and spits out her weight. Her weight here, as we're finding as we go through the tafsir, athqalaha, everybody say athqalaha. It means al-jinn wal-ins. What is al-jinn and ins? Humans and genies. Some people said, oh, but what about the hadith that it says kunuzuha, that it means that it's going to throw up its gold and its diamonds. We have an authentic narration. This whole surah is happening after we've come out of the grave. That kunuz coming up is before the nafkhatin wahida, before the blowing of the horn. So there's a difference of time going on. Yes, there's going to be shakes before the last day, and there's going to be shakes on the day, the last day. As Allah says, Inna zalzalat as-sa'ati shay'un azim. The shaking, the earthquakes on the day of the hour, the last day, is something that is azim, it's mighty. So this is what it's talking about. And it's kicking out her weight. And it says, athqaluha, as we find also in the Qur'an, thaqulan. Ayyuha thaqulan. Right? In Surah Al-Rahman, no, was it Rahman or Waqiyah? I forget. Rahman. It says, Surah Al-Rahman, Ayyuha thaqulan. Oh, you two weighty things, those two heavy things. That is al-jinn wal-ins, and this is athqaluha, the plural of that. Okay? So we define the Qur'an with what? So the first tafsir is always Qur'an by Qur'an. Okay? That's the first and the strongest tafsir of Qur'an. So athqalaha is the jinn and the man. It's going to throw us up on top of the earth. And now some of the ulama said we were heavy on top of her and we're heavy inside of her, so she spits us out on the last day, gets rid of it. Then it says, and man gets herded to his fate. يَوْمَ يَسْتُرُ النَّاسُ أَشْتَاتًا لِيُرَوْا أَعْمَالَهُم. It says on the day that man yasturu, it means he's returning back. Okay, a sadr means to return to something, asl or something. Like we call a sadr is our chest, right? Fi suduri nas, the origin of all things. So yasduru nas, they're going to be marshaled, they're going to be herded. Then we found out in another tafsir we were going through that on the last day, the angels are going to be surrounding us. How many rows are going to be around everybody? 7 rows of angels around each one of us. We found this in Surah Al-Rahman, right? So 7 rows of angels, that's a bum rush right there. That's a gang. And you're not going to be able to refuse that. Okay, and I don't mean to say about the angels it's a bum rush, but I mean by it's going to be a pipe of people, something around you cannot reject. And so they're going to be herded. Each one is going to be herded to his place. Everyone's going to be known. So there's going to be three groups, right? The people of the right, the people of the left, and muqarribun. Those people who are going straight. And we find this in Surah Al-Waqiyah when it mentions that. So this is what this is talking about in this surah. And now I'm going to erase this, please, and we're going to get through the surah bidhatiha. Do I have any questions at this time? Did we answer all these right here? Did we answer the 5 questions? Because remember, the beginning of this book starts off that it talks about 5 things that you're going to know about every surah in the Qur'an. It says you're going to know where it came from, the length of that surah, the name of that surah, the placement of that surah, and something about what that surah claims. From this, do you know that? Yes. Okay, now let's go and get a little bit extra by going through the tafsir of it. Take that off the wall too, okay? Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. The surah starts off with إذا زلزلت الأرض زلزالها, or إذا زلزلت الأرض زلزالها, or إذا زلزلت الأرض زلزالها. Those are three ways you can recite this. Okay? Stopping at this line here where it says Al-Ardu, everybody say Al-Ardu. That's Hafs. Say Al and don't breathe. Hold the air in your mouth, in your nose, and then take a pause without breathing, and then say Ardu. Listen. Al-Ardu. Pause a little bit more. Al-Ardu. That's Hamza. And now say Al-Ardu. Al-Ardu. That is Warsh. So you can recite this three different ways. It's not that you can recite it three different ways. I say you might hear it recited three different ways. You shouldn't recite it unless you know the full qira'ah, the full way of reciting it. Okay? So it might say, إِذَا زُلْزِلَتِ الْأَرْضُ زِلْزَالَهَا, or إِذَا زُلْزِلَتِ الْأَرْضُ زِلْزَالَهَا, or إِذَا زُلْزِلَتِ الْأَرْضُ زِلْزَالَهَا. Those three ways. Okay? Now, either is three types of either in the Arabic language. Either. Say that. That's in the past tense. Say in the past tense. Allah says in the Quran, وَإِذْ قَالَ رَبُّكَ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ وَإِذْ قَالَ. When. They all mean when. In the past tense. When your Lord said to the angels, I'm making in the earth. Then you have either. Say either. Like إِذَا جَاءَ. When in the future. Okay? When in the future. That's why some people translate it as if. But it means when in the future. And then you have then. Everybody say then. That means when at that particular moment. From words you have yawma idhan. Say that. It's a combination word of yawm. What does yawm mean? Day. Everybody knows yawm. Al-yawm. But yawma idhan means when on that day. Okay? It specifies when at that particular time. So here Allah says, either, meaning what? In the future though. So we know this is something that's going to happen in the future. If it already happened, what would it say? Is. So Allah says, إِذَا زُلْزِلَتِ الْأَرْضُ. When the zulzilat, and it is a feminine form because the earth is feminine. Okay? So it says, the ta' ta'nith. It's the ta' that makes something feminine. The actual word is zulzila. But it's zulzilat because it's feminine. So it says, إِذَا زُلْزِلَتِ الْأَرْضُ زِلْزَالَهَا. When the earth is shaken with its final shaking. When it's final, the complete shaking. And like I said, in the Qur'an, it goes on to say, إِنَّ زَلْزَلَةَ السَّاعَةِ شَيْءٌ عَظِيمٌ. That the earth, the shaking of the earth is something that is mighty and powerful. وَأَخْرَجَتِ الْأَرْضُ أَثْقَالَهَا. And when the earth throws up its weight, أَخْرَجَتْ. Here, this is not only just that the zilzila is happening, but at the same time, أَخْرَجَتْ. She's throwing up. Where'd that stick go? She's throwing up and kicking out the earth. أَثْقَالَهَا. أَثْقَالَهَا is the plural of the word thaqul. And thaqul is, we have thaqulan. It comes in the Qur'an. And you have thaqulan. It means those two heavy things. It means mautaha. It's the dead people from amongst it. Ahya'an wa amwata. And so Allah says in the Qur'an, وَإِذَا الْأَرْضُ مُدَّتْ وَأَلْقَتْ مَا فِيهَا وَتَخَلَّتْ. We find this in the Qur'an. It says, وَإِذَا الْأَرْضُ مُدَّتْ. When the earth is stretched out. وَأَلْقَتْ. And it throws out. أَلْقَتْ مَا فِيهَا. What is in it. وَتَخَلَّتْ. And she empties herself out. Do you understand that? So this is another ayah that's supporting what's going to happen here in this ayah. And now going back here, سَنَفْرُغُ لَكُمْ أَيُّهَا الثَّقَلَانِ. It says, we're going to deal with you guys, أَيُّهَا الثَّقَلَانِ. Be free with you and spend our time dealing with you. So وَقَالَ الْإِنسَانُ مَا لَهَا. Here, when we talk about وَقَالَ الْإِنسَانُ مَا لَهَا, this is not everybody. And it is said, the insan, the people say, مَا لَهَا. the speech would make you think, this is what we call amun. This speech right here is general. And in usul al-fiqh, when you look at an ayah and it has a general statement, it means everyone is going to say that. Okay? However, we have proof from the Qur'an that everyone is not going to say this. That this is the statement of the kafir. The non-Muslim is going to say this. Why isn't the Muslim going to say this? Why isn't the believer going to say this? Because he read the Qur'an in his lifetime. And he learned what this ayah meant. And he knows why the earth is shaking with his final shaking and why he was raised up. And Allah says in the Qur'an, you know, when they say, the kafir is going to say, قَالُوا يَا وَيْلَنَا مَا بَعَثَنَا مِن مَرْقَدِنَا. He says, يَا وَيْلَنَا, woe to us. Oh, like I say for people, oh, hell, what the hell is going on? This is what they say, يَا وَيْلَنَا. This is what this says. Men ba'athana min marqadina. Who raised us up? Who resurrected us from our resting places? This is what the kafir is going to say. And Allah says this in Surah Al-Hud. Is what they're going to say. Ya waylana. Men ba'athana min marqadina. And the believer is going to say, هَذَا مَا وَعَدَ الرَّحْمَنُ وَصَدَقَ الْمُرْسَلُونَ. The believer is going to say, this is what Allah promised us. وَصَدَقَ الْمُرْسَلُونَ. And this is what Ar-Rahman has promised for us, and what the Mursalun. And the messengers promised and were truthful about. Not what they promised. And what the messengers truthfully spoke on. So we're going to know what the time it is. And we're going to tell them, this is what Ar-Rahman promised us. Yes?
Is that from Surah Yasin or Surah Hud?
One of them is from Yasin and one of them is from Surah Al-Hud. It repeats itself a couple of places in the Qur'an. And it also in Surah Al-Waqiyah. Okay? وَإِذَا رُجَّتِ الْأَرْضُ رَجَّةً وَبُسَّتِ الْأَرْضُ بَسًّا.
Surat Al Zalzalah.
وَكُنْتُمْ أَزْوَاجًا ثَلَاثًا فَأَصْحَابُ الْمَيْمَنَةِ مَا أَصْحَابُ الْمَيْمَنَةِ وَأَصْحَابُ الْمَشْأَمَةِ مَا أَصْحَابُ الْمَشْأَمَةِ وَالسَّابِقُونَ السَّابِقُونَ أُولَٰئِكَ الْمُقَرَّبُونَ. This is going back to when it says here, وَأَخْرَجَتِ الْأَرْضُ أَثْقَالَهَا. And I said it's going to be in three, the people that's going to get thrown up, and they're going to be, that's يَسْتُرُ النَّاسُ أَشْتَاتًا. When they get taken in their different ways, it's going to be those three different groups. We spoke about that in the other part of it, right there. But the part you were talking about, I think it's in Yasin, and the other part is in Surah Al-Hud. Ya waylana ma ba'athana min maqadina. I don't know for sure. I forget. But we can go look it up, okay? Because I don't have it in my notes where exactly I got that from. Okay? Well, I'll find it before the end of the class, inshallah. Where were we? وَقَالَ الْإِنسَانُ مَا لَهَا. So the insan, all the people are not going to ask what's wrong with her, because everybody's going to, the Muslim, the believer is going to know مَا لَهَا. But then it goes on to say, يَوْمَ إِذٍ تُحَدِّثُ أَخْبَارَهَا. يَوْمَ إِذٍ, here is yawm, that day, when on that day, you're going to get hit with this stick. When on that day, am I in your way, guys? Sorry. When on that day, تُحَدِّثُ أَخْبَارَهَا. The ulama say about this yawma idhin, it goes back to this idha. It's badal. It's in place of this idha. So you say, it's like you're saying, إِذَا زُلْزِلَتِ الْأَرْضُ, when the earth shakes, وَأَخْرَجَتِ الْأَرْضُ أَثْقَالَهَا, and it throws up its stuff, and the man says, and the people say, or some of the people say, what's wrong with her? When, again, that happens, at the same time, تُحَدِّثُ أَخْبَارَهَا. She's going to speak about what's going on with her. تُحَدِّثُ أَخْبَارَهَا. And what the ulama say about this ayah, it says that the earth is going to tell everybody, every individual person, what they did about on her back. And so the people are going to say, and it's not the only time it says this. Allah says in the Qur'an, وَقَالُوا لِجُلُودِهِمْ لِمَا شَهِدْتُمْ عَلَيْنَا. Why y'all telling on us? وَقَالُوا لِجُلُودِهِمْ. And they're going to say to their skin. Remember Allah says in the hadith that their hands are going to talk. That man is going to come on Yawm al-Qiyamah and say to Allah, Ya Allah, don't take anybody's word against me. This is what we're going to say. Don't take anybody's word. Don't listen to them. Just take my word. Let me tell you what happened. We all would like that. Just listen to my version of what happened. And Allah's going to allow that. Allah's going to say, okay, you're allowed to do that. Then their mouth is going to be sealed. Our mouths are going to be sealed. We want to tell our side, and we don't want to tell anybody else's side. You better hit the machine. So our mouths will be sealed, and then our hands and our body parts, our limbs are going to start telling on us. He made me do this. He made me grab that bottle of wine, and he made me walk over to this place, and he made me lie. He's going to start telling. So we're going to say, وَقَالُوا لِجُلُودِهِمْ. And they're going to say to their skin, جُلُودِهِمْ, their flesh, لِجُلُودِهِمْ لِمَا شَهِدْتُمْ عَلَيْنَا. Why you being a witness against us? We all together here. Right? We say, لِمَا شَهِدْتُمْ عَلَيْنَا, upon our own selves. And the earth is going to, and the body is going to reply back. It says, قَالُوا أَنْتَقَنَا اللَّهُ الَّذِي أَنْتَقَ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ. Listen what it says. The body's going to say, قَالُوا, the body's going to say, they said, أَنْتَقَنَا اللَّهُ. Nut is to enunciate something. Okay, to pronounce with good pronunciation. Okay, so أَنْتَقَنَا اللَّهُ. Allah made us enunciate and speak, right? الَّذِي, the one who أَنْتَقَ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ. He made everything speak. And before recognizing this ayah's place with regard to this ayah, I thought it just meant that everybody is allowed to speak because Allah made everybody speak. But in actuality, when you study it, it means كُلَّ شَيْءٍ here means every place. Everything is talking. What are they talking about? Because remember, the mountains have gone. The earth is spread out. There is nothing but earth. Right? So what it's referring to is that يَوْمَئِذٍ تُحَدِّثُ أَخْبَارَهَا, that the earth at that time is speaking. And is speaking in front of every person. You did this, and he did this on me. So I'm over here, it's talking about me. The person over there, it's talking about him. The lady over there, it's talking about her. The earth, every part of the earth is talking, telling what everybody that's on it has done. So the body part is saying, أَنْتَقَنَا اللَّهُ الَّذِي أَنْتَقَ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ. Allah that made us speak, just like you see Allah made everything else speak here. The whole earth is speaking. Do you follow my meaning? I see some confused looks. Wipe away the mouths. Do you understand what I say? When I say everything, the earth is going to be literally saying, this is what you did on me. This is what he did here. This is what he did over here. And you try to run away from it, it's still talking. Because you can't run away from the earth. So it says, يَوْمَئِذٍ تُحَدِّثُ أَخْبَارَهَا. It's going to give its news up. Why? بِأَنَّ رَبَّكَ أَوْحَى لَهَا, or أَوْحَى لَهَا. Okay, those two ways you can say that. Or another, there's a third one. أَوْحَى لَهَا. Those three ways like that. And أَوْحَى is from the word wahyi. Wahyi is revelation. بِأَنَّ, everybody say بِأَنَّ. Bi'anna, it means because. It literally means in that. Okay? But it has the meaning of because Rabbaka, your Lord, awhalaha, has inspired it, has given it the ability to do that. And some of the ulama get into the fact that actually it's awha ila something, but you can say awhalaha. It's nothing that you have to worry about here at this level. Then it says, يَوْمَئِذٍ يَصْدُرُ النَّاسُ أَشْتَاتًا. Some people stop there. يَوْمَئِذٍ يَصْدُرُ النَّاسُ أَشْتَاتًا لِيُرَوْا أَعْمَالَهُم. It says, on that day, again, this يَوْمَئِذٍ, it goes back to this إِذَا. When this happens, when the earth shakes, when it spits up its insides, which are what? What is أَثْقَالُهَا? Men and jinn, right? And when those kafir says what's going on, and the Muslim lets him know what's going on, and the earth starts to talk because Allah gave it permission, then at that time, yawma idin, on that day, yasduru nasu ashtata, then the men, all the people are going to be returned. Yasduru nas, sadr is to be returned. They're going to be, and I say they are going to be returned. This denotes that it's not happening on their own will. This denotes this is happening to them. As it says in other parts of the Qur'an, that they're going to recognize the believers bisimahum, by their signs, right? The signs of sujood. And it said they're going to recognize the kafir because his face is going to be black, right? So the angel's going to recognize who is who. And as we said just a moment ago, they, what is the beginning part of وَبَسَّتِ الْأَرْضُ بَسَّ? وَكُنْتُمُ. It says when the earth, what's the first part? Somebody go, what's the first part of that ayah? وَرُجَّةُ in Surah Al-Rahman. وَرُجَّةُ الْأَرْضُ رَجَّةً. رُجَّةُ الْأَرْضُ رَجَّةً means when the earth shakes. رُجَّ shay is to shake, something shake. وَرُجَّةُ الْأَرْضُ إِذَا رُجَّةُ الْأَرْضُ رَجَّةً when the earth is shaking. Again, saying the same thing he says here. وَبُسَّتِ الْجِبَالُ فَبَسَّ and the mountains are smashed to smithereens. They say this, like this, you see this little dust right here? These are called dhirra. These are the definition of when something Allah smashes it, nothing less but these little spectacles. Okay? These little things that you see in the light, that you don't see normally. وَكُنْتُمْ أَزْوَاجًا ثَلَاثًا and you all are broken into what? 3 groups. فَأَصْحَابُ الْمَيْمَنَةِ so those companions of the right hand. مَا أَصْحَابُ الْمَيْمَنَةِ what will let you know about the situation of the people of the right hand. وَأَصْحَابُ الْمَشْأَمَةِ and about the companions of the left. مَا أَصْحَابُ الْمَشْأَمَةِ what will let you know what the situation is for those people on the left. وَالسَّابِقُونَ السَّابِقُونَ a sabiq is someone who's running, who outdoes somebody else, who just outdoes somebody in anything they do. فَالسَّابِقُونَ السَّابِقُونَ are those who outdo the people who are outdoing it. Some people say these are the nabi'un, these are the righteous, the shuhada, the martyrs, the mujahidun, those people who outdid the rest of the Muslims and they weren't lazy, sitting at home thinking they're getting a reward and they weren't doing something about it. As Allah says, فَاسْتَبِقُوا الْخَيْرَاتِ فَاسْتَبِقُوا is from the word sabaqa. Ista in front of a word means what? Ista in front of a word means to seek. Like we say, astaghfirullah. What does that mean? I seek the ghafr of Allah, right? So if you say fastabiq, Allah says fastabiqul. So then seek to outdo somebody else. Khayrat, in good. And then he tells you the reward of it. وَالسَّابِقُونَ السَّابِقُونَ and those people who outdid the other ones, أُولَٰئِكَ الْمُقَرَّبُونَ those are the ones that he's going to bring close to him. Those are the ones that are going to be closest to Allah on that day. So yawma idin, when this earth is shaking and all this is happening, yasduru nasu ashtata. Ashtata is from the word shatta. Shatta means mutafarriqun, means that they're different. Everybody here is different. Some people are businessmen, some people are teachers, some people have a carpentry skill, some people do other things. Okay? Some are men, some are women, some are old, some are young. People have different, some are from different places. But we have all these differences. But here there's only going to be 3 differences. You're going to be on the right side, the left side, or be those closest to Allah. So that's what it means, ashtatan. They're going to be herded and driven. The people are driven in 3 different groups. Why? لِيُرَوْا أَعْمَالَهُمْ in order for them to see their deeds. This seeing of the deeds is literal and figurative. Okay? The literal seeing of it is when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Qur'an in a couple of places, يَوْمَ يَنْظُرُ الْمَرْءُ مَا قَدَّمَتْ يَدَاهُ يَوْمَ يَنْظُرُ الْمَرْءُ the day, يَنْظُرُ a man will see, يَنْظُرُ الْمَرْءُ a man will see مَا قَدَّمَتْ يَدَاهُ what his hands, yadah, with this alif there, is 2. His 2 hands put forward. What he left from his deeds, good or bad. And Allah also says in the Quran, إِنَّا كُنَّ نَسْتَنْسِخُ مَا كُنْتُمْ تَعْمَلُونَ we were making a nuskha. We were making a copy of what y'all used to do. And there comes in the hadith where there comes Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. He was sitting with the Prophet and some portion of this surah came down and he was eating with the Prophet. And he dropped his food. He lifted his hands from the food and he said, Ya Rasulullah, are we going to see everything we did? We're going to see everything that we did, our good and our bad. And so the Prophet ﷺ, he said to him, for the believer, he said, Ara'ayta, don't you see, he's talking to Abu Bakr, ma takrahu, what you see from your deeds that you don't like, the things that happen to you that you hate, then that's Allah giving you your bad deeds in this dunya, okay? And on the last day, you're going to get your hasanat. But for the kafir, it's going to be a different situation. Okay? And we're going to talk about that in a moment. But Allah also says in the Qur'an, وَوَجَدُوا مَا عَمِلُوا حَاضِرًا in Surah Al-Kahf. It says, and they will find, وَوَجَدُوا, and they find, مَا عَمِلُوا, those things that they did, حَاضِرًا, in front of them. They're going to find it right there. Everything we did. You know, some people said if you make a list, any list, the best list you could make is a list of your evil deeds. If you were to sit someplace and if you could afford a safe deposit box, you probably put it in there because you don't want nobody to see what you did. But just like you count your money and see how much money you got, and you recount your money to see how much money you still got, you should count your evil deeds. Write them down and look at it. That would really humble a person and make them recognize what work they have to do to try to get that off. To follow up a bad deed with a good one. So they don't have it on them and to make them less arrogant about their situation. So they will see their deeds on that day. And Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam then went on and said, فَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ خَيْرًا يَرَهُ وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ شَرًّا يَرَهُ. And this is one of the most comprehensive ayat in the Qur'an. Because it says, فَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ. It's a condition. After mentioning all that has happened prior to this right here, it says, fa. Why? Because whenever you have either, you have a condition. You have a condition, a shart you've put in there. Like I said, when the imam comes, or if the imam comes, what's going to happen? We're going to pray. So when the earth shakes and it spits out the dead people from amongst it, and the people that don't know what's going on are amazed by the situation, say what's going on, and they get told what's going on by the believers. And when then the day comes when the earth starts to talk and tell us what's going on. When I said literally and figuratively, I forgot to mention what that meant. The figurative amount is that they will see the results of their deeds. Everybody will see what the result of the deed is, as well as seeing the actual deed. And it comes in another narration where the Sahabi were asking the Prophet, are we going to see our arguments again? And it says it will be reenacted in front of you. It said you will reenact it and you will see it in front of you. So that gives the idea of watching a video of something. You're going to see yourselves reenacting this argument over again. And so some of the scholars used to say, so then do what you would like to see on the last day. Behave in the situation. Like I said, we cannot control the other person's action, but you can control what? Your response, right? That's why they say you're responsible. You're responsible. Because you can control, you have the ability to respond in the way you would like to see that response on the last day. Right? That's what we have the ability to do. And that's what we should keep our focus. Because you're not going to be asked why so-and-so did such and such to you. But you will be asked, why didn't you respond in a way that follows and is in accordance with the Qur'an and the Sunnah? So either here is a condition. When this happens, when the earth starts to speak, when the people start to go to see the results of their own deeds. So whoever is fearful of this and wants to get into the right way, that the right hand or the mutaqarribun, فَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ. So then, on that time, who has ever done, man includes every human and jinn. Whoever ya'mal has done mithqala. And mithqala is like, a thaqal is a weight. Okay? Dharratin. Dharra, everybody say dharra. The ulama say a dharra is the smallest black ant that the ants have. Let's just give an example of how tiny something is. Okay? The smallest of the ants. And they're saying that's not just it, that's just an example of something really tiny. Okay? Khayran, from the good, yarahu, he will see it, right? وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ شَرًّا يَرَى. And whoever's done the lightest weight, the smallest weight, or the granule seed, speck. Some people said, some of the ulama said, smack your hand on the dirt and raise it up. Okay? Shake it. Whatever remains, that's what a dharra is. Whatever remains, that little specks of dust, that's what dharra is. They're giving another example of what dharra is. Okay? So whoever wants to see his good deeds on that day, then let him do some good deeds today. And I'm just looking for the explanation for these two ayat here. Here it goes right here. And Abi Hurairah radiyallahu anhu قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لا تقوم الساعة حتى يقبض العلم وتكثر الزلازل ويتقارب الزمان وتظهر الفتن ويكثر الحرج وهو القتل حتى يكثر فيكم المال فيفيض. It says here, on the authority of Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu, he says the hour will not be established until Allah takes away knowledge. يَقْبِضُ الْعِلْمِ. Knowledge gets taken away from the people. So what we can do to prevent that is each one teach one. Keep teaching. Keep to learn and teach so that knowledge doesn't become forgotten. Okay, it says, وَتَكْثُرَ الزَّلَازِلِ. And earthquakes become abundant, like in our time now. وَيَتَقَرَّبَ الزَّمَانِ. And time loses its benefit. Remember, it used to take a whole year for the next year to come? Now it takes a couple of weeks and we're into a new year. Meaning that the barakah of time is lost. Like right now, a day is very short now, where it used to be a long time. So it says, يَتَقَرَّبُ الزَّمَانِ وَتَظْهَرُ فِتْنَةً. And fitn becomes abundant. You see fitna all over the place. وَيَكْثُرُ الْحَرَجِ. And death and killing and oppression becomes abundance. وَهُوَ الْقَتْلُ. It's happening all over. حَتَّى يَكْثُرَ فِيكُمُ الْمَالِ. Until money becomes abundant and until it overthrows. And this is the example of what we said earlier, that the money is going to come out of the earth and the criminal is going to come and say, I used to kill for this, I used to steal for this. The qati ar-rahm, the one who used to cut ties with his relatives, he starts to say, I used to break ties with my relatives for this, and no one will take it. No one will take the wealth. And the ulama say no one will take the wealth. This is before the last day. These are times prior to the last day. No one will take it because the oppression has gotten so much they're just sick of it. They're just sick and tired. They don't even want the wealth anymore. Because you imagine the time is getting to be where people just sick and tired of all this chasing the dollar and the carrot and never catching it and doing all these debaucherous things to themselves, oppressing themselves. So they finally say, listen, our humanity is almost gone. I don't even want it anymore. So this is what's going on here. And then another story, and Abi Hurairah radiyallahu anhu, su'ila an-nabiyyu sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, an al-humra. It is the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was asked about humra. And al-humra are the donkeys. He was asked about donkeys. He said, لم ينزل علي فيها شيء إلا هذه الآية الجامعة الفادة. He says, nothing has been revealed to me, sent down to me, except for these comprehensive, unique ayatain, talking about these two ayah right here. And this is because the Prophet ﷺ was talking about horses prior to this. And he was saying that the horses are of three types. Whoever has the horse and he wants to do it fi sabilillah and keeps the horse, he's getting a certain type of reward. Whoever has the horse and he likes to take them and he's not doing it out of riyah, he's going to get a certain type of reward. But whoever has horses and he's doing it to brag and to be boastful about it, then he's going to get a punishment for that. And so they asked him, well, what about donkeys? He said, I don't know anything about the donkeys. Nothing has been revealed to me about donkeys except these two ayah. And he made these two ayah the answer. Whoever does an atom's weight, a smallest grain of good, then he'll see it. And whoever does an evil deed, then he'll see it too. So he's given us a tafsir of this as a general, whatever the situation is. If you do it for good, then you'll get your good. If you do it for evil, then you'll get evil from that thing. And also it says, and Sa'id ibn Jubair, radiyallahu anhu, and Sa'id ibn Jubair was one of the tabi'een. He was a tabi'een who was such a great scholar that when he died, they said knowledge has gone under the earth that will never come up again. And he was killed by Al-Hajjaj ibn Yusuf, al-Thaqafi, in his time. And he was a great scholar. There's a beautiful story about Sa'id ibn Jubair. I don't want to get into it right now, but just understand he was one of the greatest scholars of tafsir, even amongst the tabi'een during the life of the Sahaba. The Sahaba was still around. And still Sa'id ibn Jubair was considered one of the great ulama. And I'm telling you this, Sa'id ibn Jubair was one of the students of Ibn Abbas. And he was still considered one of the greater scholars of tafsir. So he says here, when the ayah, وَيُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ عَلَى حُبِّهِ مِسْكِينًا وَيَتِيمًا, I forget the rest of the ayah. When the ayah, وَيُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ عَلَى حُبِّهِ, when the ayah was revealed and they're giving ta'am, food, ala hubbihi, because they love it or because they love Allah. Okay? Then when this ayah was revealed, the people, the Muslims, they thought that no one was going to be rewarded for doing a small deed, and they thought no one was going to be punished for doing a small lie, any small bad deed. So then this ayah was revealed, and it said, قَالَ وَإِنَّمَا وَعَدَ اللَّهُ النَّارِ عَلَى الْكَبَائِرِ. They said, only thing that Allah promised the fire for was the people who did the major sins. And then this ayah was revealed, these two ayah, فَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ. Whoever does the atom's weight of good, then he sees it. And then whoever does an atom's weight of evil, then he will see it. Okay? Then it goes down to the last part here, where I said that the kafir, his situation is going to be different from the Muslim. Okay? So, with regards to the kafir on the last day, his evil deeds are going to be there for him. And his good deeds, haba'an manthura. فَجَعَلْنَاهُمْ haba'an manthura. Allah says that He made the deeds, the good deeds of the kafir, like that dust particles that you see in the air. Okay? He smashed them, made them nothing. Because Allah doesn't forgive that you yashruku bihi, that you make any types of shirk. So He made their deeds null and void. But He's going to punish them for their evil deeds. As for the believer, then the believer, Allah says in Allah's Messenger ﷺ said, the believer on the last day, Allah is going to draw the believer near. يُدْنَ اللَّهُ الْمُؤْمِنَ حَتَّى لَا يَكُنْ بَيْنَهُ وَبَيْنَ اللَّهُ شَيْءٍ. There's going to be nothing between him and Allah. And Allah's going to make a sutra, a hijab, or some covering between him and the slave. And He says, أَعَرِفْ ذَنْبَ كَذَا وَكَذَا. You recognize and remember this sin? And the slave is going to say, Ay Rabbi, yes, my Lord. And you remember this sin? And he said, Ay Rabbi, yes, my Lord. Hatta, until the believer, yadunnu fi nafsihi, he's going to think in himself, halaktu, I'm destroyed, I'm done. Because he's recognizing, ya'tarif bi dhanbihi. He's going to say, yo, I'm done, there's no way I'm getting out of this. And he's going to see as if he sees the hellfire before him. And then Allah says, satartuhu laka fi dunya wa aghfiru laka al-yawm. He says, in the dunya, I concealed it for you. I hid that sin that you did for you in the dunya. And today, I'm going to ghafara lak. I'm going to forgive you. But we know what the word ghafara means. From the last, when we went through taghabun, we learned this is ta'fu, wa tasfahu, wa taghfiru. What does ghafara mean?
To seek refuge.
No, not istaghfir. What does the word ghafara means? To cover up, to conceal. That's what ghafara means. So we understand from this hadith, as from the other ayah, when Allah says in the Qur'an, when Allah says, إِنَّمَا أَمْوَالُكُمْ وَأَوْلَادُكُمْ فِتْنَةً فَاحْذَرُوهُم, right? No, إِنَّ مِنْ أَزْوَاجِكُمْ وَأَوْلَادِكُمْ عَدُوًّا لَكُمْ فَاحْذَرُوهُم. Now, it says, there are some of your offspring, your spouses and your children, they're going to be enemies for you, so take your precautions from them. And then Allah says that, وَإِن تَعْفُوا وَتَسْفَحُوا وَتَغْفِرُوا. And if you ta'fu, and the afa is not even to charge him for it, right? You don't even charge him. وَتَسْفَحُوا is you charge him, but you don't punish him. وَتَغْفِرُوا, and you conceal it. You cover it up. فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. Then Allah will be for you غَفُورٌ Rahim. Right? He will be Ghafur, and we know Rahim is just specifically for the believers on Yawm al-Qiyamah. It's an extensive type of mercy specifically for the believers on the last day. كَانَ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ رَحِيمًا رَحَمَاء. So, here we have it. So on the last day for the believer, he's going to get his evil deeds rejected. Now? So, and his good deeds are going to be given to him. Wallahu a'lam wa sallallahu ta'ala and yaj'alana minhum. We ask Allah to make us amongst those people who get his evil deeds saturna, covered in this world and covered in the hereafter, forgiven. And make us amongst those people who na'fu, and we wipe away the sins of our family, of the mistakes of our family, and we conceal their sins and we don't charge them for it, so Allah can be for us Ghafurur Rahim, and make them amongst those people to be Ashabul Maymana and Ashabul al-Muqarrabeen. Ameen wa alaykum salam wa rahmatullah. And take benefit out of this surah that's just 8 ayat, but it's filled with a lot of barakah. أقول قولي هذا أستغفر الله لي ولكم. Do I have any questions about any aspect of this tafsir? Somebody had asked me if that was in Surah Al Yasin or...
One of the sisters there.
Right. What was the...